Hello and welcome back to Books, Cats, and Chaos, the podcast where we explore epic tales, sprinkle in a bit of humor, and embrace the chaos of book loving and cat herding. I am James.
And I am Casey, and we are a husband and wife team who love all things books, cats, and chaos.
This week, we dive into the rich and twisty plot of chapters 27 through 33 of Throne of Glass, where the stakes are high, the alliances are shaky, the secret's darker than a midnight snack attack from your cat. As a reminder, this is my first time reading this series, so there will be no discussing any spoilers from any of the other books series, nothing from the Massverse, and nothing from anything outside of the chapters that we're actually talking about today. So you can listen worry free, unless you're reading, Throne of Glass. And if you haven't gotten up to this point, then we are going to spoil something for you. So the recommendation is you should be at least up to chapters 27 through 33.
Yes.
Otherwise, don't listen to this.
Come back to it later.
Yeah.
With that, just a content reminder that we are adults who use adult language. So we will be cursing a little bit here and there and talking about adult themes and content. So if you have young ones running about, maybe save this podcast for a little later.
Or just pop in your headphones.
Can always do that too.
Although, I guess if you have little ones running around, might not be great to put in noise canceling headphones.
No.
So maybe don't do that. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. As always, also, if you haven't already, but you like what you hear, please visit us on our socials. We've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and a mostly functional website. I say mostly functional, and it's actually pretty functional. We're just loading it up with content now. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you'd like to subscribe there. So yeah, give us a rating, give us a subscribe, and give us a comment, somewhere so we can see how you guys feel about it.
Sounds great. So let's jump in with our chapter recap before we head into our deep dives. So, chapters 27 through 33. Selena's obsession with the mysterious clock tower and its word marks deepens, despite Nehemia's warnings to leave them alone. As Yolmus approaches, the winter chill stirs dark memories of Endovier and brings an ominous sense of approaching danger. Meanwhile, Kane maintains his insufferable smugness, ever the perfect villain. We learn that there is a difference between word marks and word gates. What does it all mean? Seeking respite from murder investigations and brutal training, Selena tries her hand at billiards, only to be thoroughly outplayed and mercilessly teased by Dorian. Their playful chemistry sparkles, though both harbor secrets beneath their casual banter. The evening ends with an Olympic worthy billiards tantrum and a peace offering of desserts. We love our chocolate cakes.
Mm-hmm.
On test day, Selena abandons her docile facade. While Baron insults her, she strikes with lightning speed and devastating force, leaving onlookers stunned. Kane watches and continues his taunts, and Selena silently vows to win the competition, not just for her freedom, but to crush his arrogance. And surprise, Kaltain is back, and so are her headaches. Kaltain seems to be cozying up with the queen. As Kel drives Selena's training to new intensities, the relationship crackles with unspoken tension. Another castle murder leads Selena to disturbing evidence, connecting the killings to the word marks. With each passing day, Kane's menacing presence grows more threatening. Dorian's hound had mutt puppers, and Selena teases him, dogs or women. Dorian and Selena also seems to be growing closer while Kale observes some shadowy darkness coming from Parrington. Rounding this out with chapters 31 through 33, Elena appears with a cryptic message: "Look to your right." The warning's meaning becomes clear during Selena's poison identification test. Thanks to Paler's help and Elena's advice, she narrowly escapes a fatal mistake. The chapter balances nerve wracking tension with moments of shared relief. A tender moment between Selena and Nehemia strengthens their friendship into one of the story's emotional cornerstones. Though Dorian's charm continues to pierce Selena's defenses, her past and pride keep her walls high. Meanwhile, Kane's behavior grows increasingly monstrous, perhaps literally. And Caltaine Rompier orchestrates her schemes through a haze of opium, manipulating Duke Parrington as she plots Lady Lillian, aka Selena's, downfall to clear her path to Prince Dorian. Her machinations pale against Nehemia's devastating news: the massacre of 500 Elway rebels, including children, a brutal reminder of Adarlan's tyranny.
That sounds like a lot. This episode is going to be packed with a lot of stuff. We got intrigue, tension, emotional moments that are going to leave you guessing about what's
Mhm.
coming next. How does Selena juggle ancient mysteries, political themes, a growing bond with Dorian? Can Nehemia carry the weight of her people's suffering, remain strong? You know, that girl's got secrets. We don't know what's
Mhm.
going on with her. And of course, the biggest question right now is what the hell is up with Kane?
For reals.
Like this dude, when we get into it, but the weirdness with this dude is just weird. So, as we get ready to do our deep dive here, we're gonna dive into everything. So we're gonna maybe we'll have some cat chaos along the way. I see one of our cats is actually sleeping right now. But yeah, if you've got your own cat, grab a drink, grab your cat, cozy up, and let's get into it. So we're gonna start with chapter 27. And in this chapter, we've got Selena's curiosity is getting the better of her. And I feel like, she really was trying not to be curious about things because she didn't want to get involved.
Mm.
Um, but she can't help it. She's got to know what's going on. So, her curiosity is unfortunately bringing more questions than answers. Nehemia is turning out to be a really good friend, but also sort of a frustrating source of confusion. And,
I agree.
we've got it's winter, and the winter time is bringing back some not so great memories. We open up with Selena doing the things. Selena actually kind of reminds me of a cat a little bit in this bit because she just can't let this go. She's staring at the clock tower again.
Mhm.
It's dark, foreboding. It manages to absorb sunlight, like a sponge. And, these gargoyles, what's up with the gargoyles? Elena called them guardians, but guardians of what? They don't do anything. They're not alive, are they? And, it doesn't help that Elena is being, very vague about like everything. She comes in and she's like, "You're the hero. You need to be the hero and save us." And then Selena's like, "From what?" And she's like, "Oh, secrets." You know,
The evil within the castle.
like, she's dropping breadcrumbs like some cryptic Hansel and Gretel fairy tale story. Why can't why can't she just tell her what's going on? Like
Mm.
it would help everybody.
Yeah.
And this to me brings up the question, does the hero always have to go through this journey of self-discovery? Like, can't somebody just come out and just say, look, right now we're at A, you need to get to B, and this is what B is. Okay? Boom, boom.
I think if they were to do that, the person would look at that and be like, "Oh, hell no." and be like, I don't want this. Find somebody else for this task." And I feel like right now Selena would be at that point. All she wants is her freedom. Anything else is just extra, like, nonsense that she does not wanna handle right now, and I don't think mentally she could handle it,
Yeah, I suppose.
but it would make this story a lot shorter, a lot faster.
I mean, it would make it well, I don't know if well, yeah, it would make it a bit shorter because there wouldn't be a lot of the back and forth, but it would make the hero's journey a little bit easier, I think, just not as well, I guess that's why it's called the hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we have the word marks are etched around the tower. So of course that's another layer of mystery because we still don't know what they are. We don't know what they
Mhm.
do, if they do anything other than there's some ancient language. None of them match what she saw at the murder scene, but there's something. So we just, keep that in mind that there is
Mhm.
going to be something somewhere.
Mhm.
But at this point, who knows what it is. Then we have the lovely Nehemia, and first thing she does when she comes in is she straight up just gets on Selena's case about her obsession with these ugly things, these gargoyles that are just stone and just kind of monstrous looking. She's like, you know, why do you why are you looking at these things so much? And she this is where you can really tell that they do have a friendship that is really growing because the way that she talks to her, right? She comes in and this is like just peak bestie energy. She just looks at her and she's like, they're made of stone, Lillian. Like she has to remind her friend that they're stone, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then of course we get a little bit of a notice that here is did her accent, did it get a little better? That's what's going on here, right? She
Mhm.
hasn't had that many lessons. So Nehemia's, she's not going to let it go. She tells her nothing good is going to come of it. That's really all she's saying about it. And when she's pressed for more information, she's dodging the questions and she's apparently she knows enough to, give a warning, but she doesn't know enough to say why.
Mhm. It's definitely suspicious. Like, she knows enough about the word marks, like you said, to give a warning, but won't explain why. And for somebody like Selena, like, she has to know the why. Like, she's
Mhm.
not gonna take that lying down. And for us readers, it's also definitely suspicious. Like, we know Nehemia knows something and we don't know what.
Yeah, she's acting very suspicious, and I was looking at this little exchange in this part of the book in the chapter, and I was just like, I want to trust her. I really want to trust Nehemia. She's a good friend, supposedly,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna be so pissed if she turns out that she turns around and backstabs her.
Right? After everything Selena's been through, she needs a good friend. She needs somebody not associated with her assassinating past and the political stuff. I mean, she's a princess, there is that politics, but she just needs somebody on her side, and I feel like Nehemia is that for her right now, but now that we know that Nehemia knows about the word marks and isn't being completely truthful, yeah, it shines her in this suspicious light, and I agree. When I was reading this, I was like, please don't backstab our queen." Like,
Hmm.
come on."
Also, please don't be the one who's eating the insides of people. I was a little worried about that too, honestly.
Oh,
I was
really?
like, is it gonna be? I don't know. Just
It's
huh?
the unsuspecting ones.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's always the one that you let into your inner circle,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they turn around and they want to eat your face, and they, you know, so um, so they've kind of got this, you can tell that it's a lighthearted kind of banter on the surface with
Mhm.
very serious undertones, which is not escaping Selena because I mean she's an assassin. Her whole life is picking up on stuff like this, right? So they're continuing through the courtyard. The winter weather is coming in full force and it's triggering flashbacks for Selena from her time in Dovier. Of course, when she was in the mines, she didn't have warm clothes and shelter and protection. She had to suffer through the cold. And she noticed it brings to her attention that while she's not in an ideal spot right now, she's in a better spot right now. But the change it's not lost on her. Um, she's lucky and she knows she's lucky, but how long is this luck uh gonna last? Especially with the
Mhm.
way the king is. I mean, this dude could change his mind any day.
Right.
I mean, I
She could back
yeah, I mean,
at a moment's notice.
yeah, and so she's got this in the back of her head that, you know, that right now she's warm, she's bundled up, she's not in the mines anymore. Although, again, PTSD for this poor girl. Um, but she knows also not to get too comfortable because this could also be just taken away from her in a moment's notice. So, we get a good look at the just kind of the damage that she's gone through.
Mhm.
Nehemia invites Selena to Elway. She says, they got great blistering summer heat. Selena tells her that she'd love to see it, but she can't really go into it a whole bunch because she's not Selena, she's Lillian. So I just imagine that conversation's like, oh, if you don't like the cold, you can come over here when it's summer. And she's like, oh, yeah, summer, that sounds great. I've been to summer, you know, not knowing anything about her whole time in the desert and, just all this other stuff.
It goes back to that they have this friendship, this budding friendship, and it's great to see, but we're also seeing that they're both holding secrets from each other, and they
Hmm.
can't be 100% honest with each other, and it's also putting a strain on their friendship.
Yeah. And, the secrets just, they're not stopping, unfortunately.
No.
So, as they're walking through the courtyard, Selena catches Nehemia looking at her brow, and she's kind of says, "Oh yeah, like we'll do the Elway thing, like cool." Eh, The focus so much on her brow, it, as a reader, makes you really wonder, like, why is she staring at her forehead so much? Like, what is the purpose of this? Because then it gives you an idea that she really maybe does know a lot more than she's letting on about
Mhm.
a number of different things, you know. Um, and then of course to get on this, Nehemia also wants to know all about the murder. Like this girl just wants to know everything about what's going on in this castle.
I'm gonna backtrack you a little bit. I think too, maybe just me as a reader, the fact that Nahimi is looking again at her brow, so close to the other chapters where Elena, her statue on the sarcophagus, had the word mark etching on her brow. I was
Mm,
reading it and I was trying to pull connections, whether there is one or not, between Elena and Selena. I didn't know if you had any suspicions or thoughts on that as well, or if that was just me trying to read too much into things.
I do know that I hadn't caught it the first time, I caught it the second time that there was more of a focus on the word mark that was on the brow. And then, yeah, when with Nehemia, also focusing on her brow, it was kind of like, is there is there something going on here, or is she just like
A weirdo?
being weird? Yeah, like because you don't want to read too much into what's going on, but then you also don't want to miss out on the clues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too early to really tell, but there was definitely something
Mhm.
that was noteworthy at that point.
Oh,
Uh, hey, Fagin. Okay, so the way that was looking at this was that Nehemia was probably picking up on the fact that Selena was starting to notice that she was acting a little too insistent, about these things, the word marks and the, just all of it. So she switches the focus to the murder because what's a better change in subject than nice grisly murder, right?
it is a very hot topic.
Most princesses or just royals in general don't care about that stuff.
Mhm.
Proper ladies, I mean, could you imagine if any of the other ladies, Caltaine or any of them coming up and being like, "Hey, tell me about the body." Like
Yeah, it wouldn't happen. It's not polite talk or polite society.
and I imagine that's just what Nehemia is like. She just kinda, like, sidles up next to her and she's like, "So, tell me about the body. Is it gross?" Like, you know? Um, and of course, Selena's like, Okay, weirdo," but, so she tells her, and Nehemia's like, "Okay, that's pretty graphic." She starts to kind of, you know, physically look a little ill, with the details, but she still wants to know more. She wants to know just all of the details about the body. As they're talking, they're rounding through I'm imagining they're rounding through the garden, and they come up to the clock tower. And who do they run into but our mystery man of the hour, Mr. Kane, followed by Varen. And they're looking and they're like, somehow Kane looks beefier. Like, what is up with this dude? Is he just packing in protein or like, because he was already a big dude.
Mhm.
So is it a trick of the light? Is it just, Selena, is she tired? Is she just not, mentally ready for the next, what is it? Or is he actually bigger? He taunts the two women. Nehemia, tries to rein Selena in, but Selena, of course, is not one to back down from any provocation at all. And of course, she's wondering, why is he back here again at the tower? And we're seeing now it's not just Selena who is drawn to this tower. Like other characters also keep finding themselves here. And why? Why is it? And then we get to kind of a big reveal here where Kane taunts her and then he lets her know that he knows who she is. And that was a big deal, I think, for Selena
Yeah.
because now she's no longer Lillian. She's Selena. But she's got to keep this facade up for her friend.
Yeah.
So this puts her in a not great spot, really. Uh, it's just what is Kane's deal? Like he's obviously being fed information from
Mhm.
somewhere, right? So I mean, what's the deal? Is what I was questioning.
And why bring it up now, of all things? Like, what is his angle? If he's known this whole time, why not bring it up sooner? Or was he waiting to see how far she would get in the competition?
And did
But yeah,
he know at the beginning or did he find out halfway?
oh, that's a good question.
Right? Like, and actually, I don't think that was covered. Yeah, I don't remember. The, you know, that would make a difference.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, no, this was a surprise moment for me with him coming out and admitting that he knows who she really is and knows about her time in Dovir and everything. That's like, sometimes you would see that, like, at the very end, like, he would reveal that at, the last final test or something just to get under her skin, but no, he's revealing it now. So what is his purpose for doing so now?
Mhm. I mean, they still got a couple to go. Like,
Yeah, they still have several weeks.
yeah. So, was it like he found out and he just couldn't help himself or,
It could be.
you know, I mean, I don't know. That was but that was definitely a because again, I was not expecting his character to be this conniving.
No. I When we were first introduced to him at the way beginning, I thought he was gonna be more brutish, um, like all brawn, no brain, but no, he's definitely a contender in all ways,
Mhm.
not just physical strength, but he can think and use tactics, and
That's the worst kind
it
of enemy.
it really is.
So we've got him, he's taunting her and he drops this bombshell on her and Selena desperately is just wanting to wreck his world, right? And she can't because she's supposed to be Lillian and she's just desperately hoping that Nehemia i- is not able to really understand what he's saying well enough to put things together. Um, is that going to work in her favor? We don't know. We're going to find out. She does manage to control herself, and then her and Nehemia end up leaving because she can't risk it, and of course, then she's going to get in trouble with Kale again. And she taunts him and stuff, but she doesn't want to be in trouble. I mean, she's got too many things to accomplish, and honestly, at this point, she's got a fair amount of freedom to kind of wander around.
Mhm.
She doesn't need extra eyes and security on her because she lashed out. So, I can imagine as an assassin, walking away from that was probably one of the hardest things that she had to do.
Oh, definitely. And she's been itching for, this whole half of the book to put Kale or not Kale, to put Cain in his place, and now that she knows that he knows who she really is, that's just, like, the icing on the cake, like, "Just sneeze wrong in my direction, and I will gut you right here, right
Hmm.
now."
Oh, she wants to. So,
Yeah.
so instead, she acts as a very proper lady and tells him to shove it in his ass, and then they leave. Um, but this whole thing brought up a very interesting question and point of, there is something happening to Kane. He's involved in something. Is the clock tower doing something to enhance his strength? Is somebody controlling him? I was torn really with the idea that it was either him or or like Duke Parrington was like doing something, like feeding him
Mhm.
drugs or something, you know,
Yeah.
um, just to like be like, you're a good, strong, like we need to make sure that you're the winner kind of thing.
Yeah.
Here's a little something on the side. Um, yeah, just trying to figure out, what's going on really. Because the boy ain't right. Something
No.
going on. um, of course, all of this is going on, and we've got Kale and Dorian are up in the mezzanine in the shadows. They're watching Selena train. Kale is hoping that by having Dorian watch, that he'll understand that she's a threat and that he will stop flirting unnecessarily with her. Um, it doesn't work. Uh,
Boy loves danger.
Dorian is a yeah, he's a sucker for punishment, and he has no. I wouldn't say he has no sense of self preservation, but it is lacking a little bit.
I like to think that Dorian likes a challenge, and there is no challenge with court ladies. And Selena is a challenge, and there's something tempting about something being dangerous,
I mean, she's an assassin.
but she's more than just an assassin, and I feel like he's the only one that sees that.
Well, yeah. I mean, he does see the woman beneath the killer, whereas Kale is right now mostly seeing the killer. Dorian does notice that she's gotten stronger, and he thanks Kale for training her, helping to get her where she is because she has made a vast improvement from when they took her out of the mines. Um, he wants to know if Kale thinks that she can beat Kane. At this point, I don't think anybody can beat Kane. Like, I just imagine him as this big, massive, hunk of meat. Like, just you don't want to get hit by this guy, right?
Mhm.
Um, Kale says, she's still got to learn how to control her rage. Um, but she's doing really good in her training. If she keeps it up, she will do a good chance. But a one-on-one fight would be, you know, iffy. Um, I mean, at this point, I don't know if Kale even thinks that he could take him on. Like, he would never admit that, but
No, no, he wouldn't.
Um, then we see yet another character comes in. Nox decides to come in, and Dorian is surprised that she's managed to make another friend because Selena's just friends with everybody apparently. Uh, and he tells Kale, it's fine, let it happen. He could be a good ally. Basically, I think at this point he's looking at it and saying, "This dude's not a threat. Don't lose sleep over this guy." um, but Kale thinks that there might be a little bit of jealousy here. Why? Why? I guess would Dorian feel the need to be jealous of another champion that's come into Selena's kind of like I guess her inner circle?
Mm. I mean, I think Nox is more privy to her day to day, whereas Dorian only gets to see her like here and there for short periods of time, depending on his flexibility with his schedule versus her training schedule and everything. Whereas Nox gets to see her all day, every day, and gets to train with her and everything. So I could see where Dorian would get a bit jealous with that because he doesn't get that with her.
Yeah. Well, and maybe too just the whole idea of him being somebody else that she's so casual with.
Yeah.
And even though they do have their banter, I don't get the feeling that she is super casual with him yet. I mean, he's the prince, right? So she can't be super casual, but there's still a wall, right? That
Mhm.
that they just haven't managed to get past yet.
Yeah.
But then, Dorian also just has a problem when he wants a thing and he doesn't get it right away, or the thing he's working towards, somebody else gets it first, or, you know, so, but that's what best friends are for. Kale says he notices and Dorian ignores it. That's why not, right?
Hmm.
Um, so, several days go by. We find Selena. She's researching the word marks. She's trying to find just, anything that she can around the tower and Xavier's murder scene. She's not having a whole lot of luck because there's just not a lot of information left about this stuff. Most of it, it's been destroyed or lost or just, gone. Kale's with her reading his own novel and being generally very just, he's there, but he's very, um, not helping at all.
Well, I mean, to his credit, she hasn't told him what she's researching. I don't think so. He just thinks that she is there to read and do whatever.
She's just doing book stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm. She has not mentioned her run-in with Kane and Varen, and she's also not said anything to him about the fact that Kane knows who she is. And Kale, there's too many C names here, and Kale, I thought would have been the one person that she would have gone to and said, not even Dorian, but to Kale, and like, hey, bro, dude, like he knows what's up. Like, how do we?
Handle this? Yeah. I I'm torn because she's so used to doing things on her own, so I could see why she held back on this information, and what is Kale gonna do? He can't kick Kane out of the competition for knowing who she really is, you know? So, telling him wouldn't really change anything, but Kale is also supposed to be on her side, so she should have confided in him too, just so that he is made aware of the situation, and then they could re-strategize what she needs to do moving forward in order to win.
Yeah, it was an odd choice for her to keep that to herself. And it was not actually, I wasn't expecting her to go that route. Just, I figured she would want at least one person besides herself to know what was going on. Because, I mean, if she just disappears one night, nobody's going to know why. But at least if she had told somebody, they could be like, I bet it was Kate,
Yeah.
Hmm. Um, anyway, so she's researching and, she hasn't figured out a whole bunch of stuff about them. So far, we know that the word marks are around the clock tower. They were at the murder site. They're also in Elena's tomb. And that's, kind of as far as she's figured out, right? Are they a language? Um, one of her books said that they were probably an alphabet, maybe. Um, but then another book says that, you know, they weren't really like grammar related. They were just a bunch of things kind of put together and strung together. And so she's not really finding a whole lot of consistent information that can lead her on a set path, which I get. That's annoying. Mm. Gosh. Selena tells Kale that some books claim that word is, this force that holds life, I guess, together, everything. It's like the law of the world. Um, Kale says that he thought word was an old term for fate or destiny.
So no real concrete knowledge on word or word marks or word gates.
Yeah, exactly. There's at this point, there's just, you know, just things all over the place, and
Mm.
and it's not helping her. She's not finding anything to help ease this. Uh, she's got this thing in the back of her head that says that these things are something, whether they're bad news or whether it's just, uh, um, coincidence that they happen to be used during the murder. I mean, for all she knows, it could be a calling card, like maybe the person just liked the way it looked and they just wrote it in the blood. That's the thing is she doesn't know. And nothing that she's looking at is giving her anything to weigh her in one way or another. Then we learned that the word gates are different than the word marks, right? The gates are both real and invisible. Humans can't see them, but they can be summoned and used or accessed using the word marks. They open up into other realms, good and bad, and other creatures, good and bad, can come through them. Um, so that's a little more, at least a little more description on possible usage.
Mm. I So doing this reread and the deep dive and putting together our show notes and everything, something struck out at me. So we're made to believe that up till this point, Selena doesn't know what word marks or word gates are. And that's why she's researching all of this, especially trying to find a connection with this murder that happened. Um, but if we go back to chapter 3, to the second to last line of the chapter states, yes, she would go to Rifthold, to anywhere, even through the gates of the word and into hell itself if it meant freedom. Um, and yet, we're told at the end of this chapter that she's never heard of word gates before. So I just don't know if this is like a continuity error or if gates of the word and word gates are like two separate things.
Mhm.
Um, so that was just my
Or maybe it was just a different way to say the same thing.
maybe. Um, or maybe it's just one of those like sayings that people say, like, I'd rather go through the gates of the word versus doing this thing, or
Yeah, it's one of those things that, people have said, probably said it for so long that nobody really even remembers what the original saying was.
yeah, it could be. It was bothering me and I had to go back and look it up and be like, "Wait, I thought she knew what this was, and then now she doesn't?" But okay. We'll roll with it right now.
I did not catch that actually. Um, yeah, I completely just
Yeah, I didn't catch it the first time I read the book, but when you picked up the book and then we decided to do these deep dives and everything, I was like, "No, wait a minute." Uh,
it's worth noting, you just who knows? We'll see.
mm,
So Selena reaches for another book, and it's a book that she doesn't remember picking up off the shelf. And the book is black. And like many of the things in this story, when you have contact with something that is black, um, you need to pay attention. We have the obsidian eyes, the black ring that Cain wears, a black clock tower, and now we have a mysterious black bound book called The Walking Dead.
this seems like so up your alley.
Even if you didn't have any of the other things and she just managed to pick up a book called The Walking Dead, that right there would be enough to make you be like, what?
Mm-mm.
Something, something, something. Mm-mm. Uh,
Something ain't right.
so the first thing that she notices is that the book reeks. It kind of smells like soil, right? So she opens it, she scans it for word marks, word gates, but instead she finds it's just basically um, an illustration of a half decayed face grinning at her with the flesh falling from its bones. And with a title like The Walking Dead, that tracks. Um, and it's enough to make her take a minute and it gets under her skin. And how has this book not been burned when they burned all the other books? Because clearly this book does not belong here. And and more specifically, I mean, how had any of the books mentioning the word marks and stuff not been burned? Because you got the idea that they were very thorough
You're right.
about
Like, the
this.
king was very adamant about no magic anything, burn it all. So how did these survive?
Yeah. So rightfully so. She's a little weirded out by this. And she says, "Yeah, I'm not dealing with this right now." So she closes the book and she shoves it away. And pretty much at that exact moment, she hears a groan, and Kale doesn't react. And she's like, "Nothing?" And he's just like, "Oh, what? Like, I, you hearing things? Because there's nothing here." Um, so she reaches for the book again. She goes past the illustration and she tries to read up on the things, the descriptions and the monsters and stuff. And then she hears scraping noises coming from somewhere beneath her feet. And it's really close. And,
Mm.
she is, you got to remember, she's an assassin. So she's going to pick up on this stuff. And it was enough to make her think, like, shit, am I in danger? Like, because whatever it was, it feels like it's right there.
Mhm.
The hair on her arms is up and she's waiting and she's waiting. And then Kale comes out of the nowhere and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I was dragging my dagger on the floor." Like,
Fucking Kale. Like, what the fuck?
like if you ever wanted to just punch a dude,
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
And you know me, I love my boy Kale, but at that point, me even I was like, bro, bro,
That's fucked up, especially knowing like, with the murders and everything, like, he doesn't know that this could potentially be some sort of creature, right? But even with the murders, like, don't be messing around like that. That ain't right.
yeah, it's really what did I say last time? Oh, that was he was being a um. So Selena says, "You know what? Screw this." She grabs two big books, not The Walking Dead,
Nope.
and she leaves the library because she's just had enough of this shit. She's like, "I'm so
Eh,
done with you right now."
yup.
Um, and this it really kind of set the pace for the change in this chapter. Set the pace, or not set the pace, changed the pace
Mm.
for kind of things that we're now discovering, in the story as we're moving forward because we've got, you know, more secrets, more, you know, I don't want to call them prophecies, but just you know, the hero's journey kind of stuff, and we're no longer talking about a person who's just competing to fight in win her freedom. The arena for everything has gotten just so much bigger. And
Stakes are higher.
yeah, and we're seeing the relationships evolve between the characters, and it's going to, be good as we move forward and through this. But there was a lot of it's chapter 27, but I feel like we kind of got another like setup
Mm-hmm.
for the story. Like, you had your setup in chapters 1, 2, 3, whatever, and then now we're to this point, and it's like, now I need to drop all this new knowledge on you.
New knowledge without answering any questions that anybody has. Like, there's something fishy about this clock tower and the gargoyles, and Nahimi is a bit suspicious, but Kane keeps growing bigger and bigger and bigger. What the hell? And what's up with these word marks? And what is word gates? Like, and people are still being murdered. So, like, we're getting
Mm.
more stuff, but we're getting more questions and not enough answers.
And this ghost lady is not helpful.
Yes. Well, the non-ghost ghost lady.
Yeah, the non-ghost ghost lady. Um, but it's nice though because we go from this chapter that's just got all of this mystery and kind of high. If you got high blood pressure, this is not the chapter for you as a character. Um, so then we get to move into something a little more fun, right? Um, a nice break from murder and mayhem.
Yes. We move into chapter 28, where Selena is grappling with the cue stick, trading sharp quips with Dorian and revealing some hidden layers of vulnerability. But don't get too comfortable. There's still plenty of intrigue beneath the surface. The chapter opens and Selena's attempting to teach herself how to play pool, a game that's clearly testing her patience. Same girl, same. Watching her jab wildly at the cue ball, she misses entirely and throws a mini tantrum, even biting down on the cue stick, which is totally relatable because I suck at this game.
She could be
Oh,
related to you, honestly.
I mean, yes, because I'm such a deadly assassin. But yeah, who hasn't tried learning something or doing something and then spiral into frustration when it doesn't click? Uh, Selena's determined to master this ridiculous game. Um, Though the declaration to burn the table for firewood and use it to roast Cain alive is just yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, as a person who is good at a lot of things, but not great at any one thing,
Mhm.
I get where she's coming from.
You say that, and you are good at pool, and I've played against you since, what, high school, and I suck
Okay, but I mean,
still.
pool is one of those things that I actually like spend a fair amount of time. Well, not anymore, but I get coming up to something
Mhm.
and being like, "Oh, that looks interesting or fun or whatever. I can do that." And then doing it and not immediately being fantastic at it. And then it's like, "Yeah, I don't wanna do this anymore. This is stupid." Mm.
I think it's also like a ADHD thing too, like or maybe it's a millennial first child thing, like, we have to be able to do it and do it well the first time. Otherwise, like, there's no interest in it.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's,
I can overthink something and prep as much as I want, and if it still does not turn out right the first time, it's not worth it.
yeah, then no, then you don't wanna do it anymore.
No.
Um, but, this opens up a kind of another question, is why is she so focused on this particular thing? Like, you know, is it because she's a perfectionist, or is it because the girl is just stressed out and she wanted something fun to do, and the fact that she's not immediately perfect at it, or, whatever, it's like, "Oh, another thing that I can't control." Like,
I think it could be both. I think, we've learned so far that if she is not first, if she is not the best at something, she was beaten until she was the first place person, or she,
mm,
did win, or she mastered it. So she's had that beaten into her since she was 8. She's had that perfectionist mindset. since she was 8. We don't really know how she was before she was 8. Um, so yeah, for her to sit back and truly enjoy something without having to be a master at it right away, I don't think she gets a lot of those moments,
Yeah.
um, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, that could be frustrating. She just wants to relax, let off some
Yeah.
steam.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, that's not her, that's not in the cards for her tonight.
No.
Her
No.
favorite person's, you know.
For such a great assassin, she keeps getting snuck up on by Dorian. He has been sitting here watching her throw her temper tantrum and, sucking at playing this game. Um, and he startles her, and he's grinning like the cat who has found cream. And he immediately goes into teasing her and getting under her skin, telling her, "For the world's greatest assassin, this is pathetic." And and she glares back at him, like the fuck
Daggers.
boy. Yes. Their their banter is playful, filled with a sharp kind of humor that feels like sparring with words. Dorian offers to teach her because he's a gentleman,
Mhm,
and the old "let me stand behind you and guide your hands" trick unfolds. Oldest trick in the book.
mhm.
It's classic, it's shameless, and yet Dorian is clearly enjoying himself a little too much. And when he looks over, he also notices that Selena is also a little red, but she does threaten him and, to replace his eyes with the billiard balls if he tries anything else. So, do you think Dorian's interest in Selena is purely playful, or is he testing the waters for something deeper?
Oh, I 100%, felt like he was trying to see, like, if it was worth going out on a limb. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I think he's entranced by her because as we've talked about before, he can't get her well, A, he can't get her out of his head, and
Mhm.
B, he's discovered that he can get under her skin, but that's about it.
She won't give him much more.
No, he can't she's not a court lady. He can't get under her skirt. He can't,
Nope.
he can't worm his way into her bed, and I think he's both annoyed by that, but also like, this is the game, like, you know what I mean? And I think he's right now he's bordering between two things. He is intrigued by her and he's wanting to learn more, get to know her, all this stuff. But he's also, like you said, I think he's testing the waters a little bit like if I just push this, a little bit, could I could she could we,
Mm.
you know? And she does. She responds and says, "I'm going to replace your eyeballs if you're not careful." And we don't even have Bill there to take care of his eyes, when
Right.
damn it, Bill, why'd you have to go and die? I need an eye eater saga, man.
We do need a separate, like, short story about Bill the Eye Eater.
Right. Sarah,
Um,
if you ever listen to this at some point, we need a standalone Bill the Eye Eater, just
Thriller.
short story. That's it. That's all we need. Something.
Maybe, like, how he got caught. Like, maybe it was at the end of a murder and he's eating the eyeballs and he got caught and he was sent and, to Endovier or not Endovier, he was sent to the other one. And then he was propositioned to come be a champion.
I would
That
love
would be
it.
a
I would love it if it wasn't actually eyeballs, but like if he was eating something else and somebody just happened to see it wrong, and then he ended up getting this nickname, and he's just like, "What? No."
I don't eat eyeballs. Like, maybe he plucks them out, but he doesn't actually eat them.
Yeah,
Or somebody, like you said, saw it wrong, and so then he's had to start taking the eyeballs out.
he's like, "Damn it." I don't know. I need more. But anyway, sorry, digress. That
So, they after much bantering and teasing, and dare I say flirting, Dorian shows her how to correctly handle the stick, the cue stick, and dares her to a game. But again, how does he keep managing to sneak into her room when she is one, the greatest assassin, and two, she did something to the hinges of the doors so that they would squeal. Anyways,
did he come in
continue.
with a WD-40 and fix him while she was gone?
Maybe Philippa is just like, "What the hell is up with these doors?"
Mm,
And
I could see that actually. She's like, "We just fixed these."
"What the hell? What the hell?" As the billiards lesson spirals into actual games, the pair spends hours in the gaming room. Selena's stubborn streak shines as she refuses to let Dorian's inevitable wins dampen her spirits. In fact, it's the opposite. Every hit she lands becomes a reason to shamelessly brag. I do the same.
Mhm.
In between shots, they dig into an array of desserts, including a large piece of chocolate cake, yes, that Selena devours before stealing half of Dorian's.
Mm. Accurate.
Also, yeah, this entire scene is a rare slice of normalcy in her otherwise chaotic life. The laughter, the teasing, the shared vulnerability feel like a moment frozen in time. And, they're able to speak of books, history, politics, even theater. Dorian offers to make an off. Wait, backtrack. Dorian makes an offhand promise to take Selena to a play after the competition. The brief, awkward silence that follows is loaded with unspoken tension. Is this just a flirtatious offer, or is Dorian trying to envision a future for them? One that doesn't involve deadly competitions and political schemes. And
Mm.
does Selena believe a future like this is possible for her? Questions, questions.
That's a loaded one because
Yeah.
yeah, that's
As the night winds down, Selena and Dorian find themselves by the fire, legs dangling off armchairs. Their conversation takes a quieter, more introspective turn as Dorian asks what she's thinking. Selena's answer, she's musing on whether the champions murdered are intentional. She tries to ask this, casually, but the undercurrent of fear is unmistakable. The mystery of the killer looms heavy on her thoughts. He doesn't believe they are. And he tries
mm,
to let her know that, that they've been posting more guards around her, so she has nothing to fear. But she has fallen asleep in her chair. And we come to learn that Dorian wants to know more about her. He wants to know everything that is to be known about her. To me, that is so different than Kale, because every
mm,
time, like, Selena tries to open up about herself to Kale, he shuts her down. Versus Dorian, who's wanting to know more about her, and he's trying to ask these questions, and she has this wall up with him. Whether that's because she feels more vulnerable with him or because he's the prince, those are
yeah, that's a good question because you wouldn't. Well, I don't know if you would necessarily think it would be more one way or the other because Kale. Yeah, Kale is a guard. You know,
Mhm.
he's soldier type of person, and I think I did kind of. I originally kind of figured that they would open up to each other more easily because they're both in positions of protector fighting, and she would have more in common, you know, whereas you have Dorian, the prince, who he's lived his whole life in the court. Like, but maybe it's that difference that is the catalyst for, you know, because he's not a killer and he's not a warrior and he's not a,
Yeah,
so it can go either way. Like I can see it working either way, honestly.
yeah. Um, so she's fast asleep. He rouses her and helps her to bed, where she just collapses. He blows out the candles, gathered up his books that he had loaned her, and tells her, "Good night, Selena," addressing her for the first time by her name. And as he's leaving, he notices a necklace at the hollow of her throat, and he realizes it looks familiar somehow, like he's seen it before, but he can't place where. And this is the necklace that the not ghost Elena had given her, the amulet. So as he leaves, he wonders if Selena did become his father's champion, would she change? Was all of this a facade? And he really hoped not. He couldn't imagine that she was pretending with him. So there were two things there, you know. One, how does he recognize Elena's amulet?
Mm-hmm. Sort of.
Sort of. He admits that it looks familiar, but doesn't know where. Um, and and yeah, does is Selena pretending with him, or is she being her real self with him?
You know, it's hard to say because she has spent her whole life being on guard.
Mhm.
Now I do feel that she is her personality and the way she acts and everything, I think that is her. That's genuine. Um, she's just the way she is unapologetic. And if you don't like it, then, screw you and I don't care kind of deal, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like her character is so complicated that she's like got two not personalities, but you know what I mean? Like two faces. I think she is the way that she presents herself. Um, but I can see Dorian also looking at it and he does have to think about stuff like that. Is this person really who they say they are? But then he also has a one up that he knows who she really is. Everyone else thinks that she's Lillian. So there's a lot of crisscrossing of going on here with, people who know like different things and their positions and where they are and how much can you really hide from the person that like drug you out of the mines and
Yeah.
like so I do think that while I don't necessarily think that she could ever fully let her guard down, I think that some of it can and will come down. But it is not unique to her. I don't think many people would let all of their guard down, I mean, they're just not in a position to do that inside of a castle.
Mhm.
Just you don't. You just don't do that inside of a castle.
You can't. It's not safe, you know, with all the politics and everything that goes on.
And
Yeah.
would Dorian even be prepared for that if she did somehow? I mean, she's a complex woman,
Mm.
and right now he's only seeing a very small part of, her.
Yeah.
He knows that she likes to read and he knows that she's good at, fighting and things, but he doesn't know anything of her tortured past. He doesn't know, really any of the real details of the assassin years. So is she still just a challenge at this point? Not just a challenge, but you know what I mean? Like she's not a court lady and she is intellectually way more on the level with him,
Mhm.
you know? But does that just feed into like the ideal fantasy he's seeing, like what he wants to see from her, or is he really looking at the whole picture like I really like her, I think there could be something going on here. Um We just don't know where Dorian's really at, you know, at this point.
Yeah.
But it is nice to see the dynamic of them changing and growing. So like we'll see, you know. They got some more growing to do.
They do.
Um so yeah, so Dorian takes his stuff, he leaves, and we open up the next chapter back basically back in the action, right? We've had this little reprieve. She had a fun night, game night, blew off some steam. Um and then the next day there's a tense scene in the training hall as the champions are preparing for their next test, an actual sparring match. Like we're getting some action, like, no more bows and arrows and no more crawling up walls and
We're getting some hand on hand.
and so the the rule is if they win, then they don't have to worry about being eliminated. That's fair, right?
Mhm.
If you lose, then you have to face Brulo, and whoever performed the worst in fighting him is the one who gets sent home.
I don't think they had to fight Brulo, they just had to, like, face him, like, face his judgment.
Oh, oh, see, I took that as they had to like fight against him. But okay, maybe I read that wrong.
Like, you lost to your sparring partner, now you have to face the weapons master, but no, I believe they just whoever lost the sparring match had to face judgment with Brulo,
Oh,
and whoever performed the worst was the one that was sent home.
okay. I mean, I guess that would make sense too.
The other has more action, though.
I mean, yeah, that was the way I was like, because I was like, oh, that would suck. You fight, you'll lose, and then you got to fight this guy, and you're gonna lose.
But imagine, though, like, how many champions there are, and then you have half that. Brulo would have to fight, like 6 of them, 7 of them. He would get tired,
Yeah,
and he's older.
yeah, but how many of those could he one shot? Like
True.
they're gonna be like, oh, you lost, obviously, and then you go to Brulo, and he's just like, toss. I don't, whatever. Um, so Selena watches Kane and Grave go head to head, and while Grave holds his ground briefly, Kane overpowers him. The dude is a beast, and apparently quite literally. He doesn't even look like he's trying, but the sheer force of his attacks has Grave trembling. And Grave is not a somebody that you expected to be timid, right? And if he's cowering in the face of Kane, then you know that this is just bad news all around. It's a very tense moment as everyone is watching this, and just everyone basically is figuring Kane is going to win this, and pity for the poor soul who gets all the way to the end with him
Mm.
because they're screwed. Mm. It's kind of amazing that none of them. I mean, they can't, but in any other occasion, I imagine all the other champions or most of them would be like, "I'm out. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna bother trying to get to
just
the end. Peace."
yeah.
Um, so Selena's frustrated. She's clenching her fist. She's holding back her feelings of inadequacy because she knows the king is stronger, obviously, and she's questioning. Can she prove herself when the time comes?
See, I disagree slightly. I don't think she's filled with rage or frustration over the fact that she feels inadequate. I think her rage comes from the fact that she's been having to hold back this whole time.
Mm.
Kale told her to hold back and to be middle of the pack. She's not been getting Brulo's praise. And this whole time, Kane knew who she was. So now there is no reason for her to hold back. And if she had known that Kane had known about her this whole time, she wouldn't have had to play this middle of the pack, aha, jewel thief. She could have been beating his ass at every test throughout this whole thing. So I think that's where
Right.
her rage and her frustration was coming from, was, you know, he's going head to head with Grave right now. He's clearly winning without even trying. Brullo's giving him more praise, and she's just like, "Fuck you, fuck this." Like, fuck no. That's how I took it.
Well, and yeah, and he's not holding back. And yeah, like you said, she's been forced to hold back, and um, yeah, that makes sense.
You can disagree with me.
I mean, I still feel like she is still looking at it, and she has to be questioning whether she can pull this off. Um, just based on the fact that he is making it look so effortless.
True.
Um, but I think you do raise a good point about the whole rage about her. She has not been allowed to perform the way she wants to perform.
Mhm.
But I still think that is to her benefit, though, because nobody really can expect her best performance if they don't know that it's there. Um, I think
Technical difficulties.
I think it works to her. I still think that her not showcasing her best abilities works to her benefit.
I thought that was a really good strategy. Um, you didn't wanna have her with the target right from the get-go because bunch of brutish men, they're of course gonna target who they think is the weakest link, and who would that be? Some 18-year-old girl.
Mhm.
So it was a good strategy. I can also feel where she is getting her frustration from. As we've mentioned before, she was raised and trained to be the best, to be number 1, and if you're not number 1, you're the loser,
Mhm.
and she's used to always getting the praise and stuff during trainings, and she's not getting that now, and that's frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, it is a for somebody like her, yeah, that is a something that she needs.
Yeah.
Luckily, she's gonna get her chance though, because her chance to fight comes up, and it's her versus Varen,
Mhm.
the curly-haired thief who is as much of a loudmouth as he is a coward. He antagonizes Selena with vulgar taunts about her and Nox, but Selena's sharp retort steals the show. She says, "Shut your mouth, you damn pig." That's not very ladylike, which I think kind of took some of them off guard a little bit. Kale and Dorian, who've been watching the whole time, they push off from where they're leaning against the wall. Selena sees them and ignores them. She's had enough of the hiding, enough of the holding back, enough of the woe is me proper Lillian. She's done with it. So the fight starts and it's over just boom in seconds. Selena doesn't even draw her sword. Just using pure skill and agility, she knocks Varian out of the ring with a brutal kick to the chest. And honestly, I just see her in my head. She just comes up, walks up to him, and she's just like Sparta, and then yeah, mic drop. Just
I was envisioning more of, like, Black Widow, like, just all of the quick and then a powerhouse kick to send him, like,
oh yeah, I guess that would. In any case, though, it was over faster. The buildup was longer than the actual fight.
yeah, I
um,
loved it. I was like, "Hell yeah, this is what we've been waiting for."
yeah, no, it was great. You know, she didn't just win; she made a statement. Like, do not underestimate me. She
Yeah.
tells Varen if he mocks her again that she'll repeat what she did, but with a sword. And then she turns and taunts the weapons master, which, okay, that's ballsy.
Super ballsy.
And she says, "Give me real men to fight," solidifying, her position and basically telling everyone, in the ring, um, y'all better watch out because
Don't fuck with me.
I am not to be trifled with. It was, I really, you know, I do, I do love a good like fight,
Yeah.
punches and swords. But sometimes when people come in and they're just like, I don't have time for this, and just, and you're like, no, that was good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. What better way to put bullies in their place than to just give them the literal bitch slap that knocks them out? And, like, you don't need to draw it out and do this big fancy sword and dance maneuver.
Hmm.
Just one and done.
You just got beat by a girl.
Yeah. Because Varen's not gonna be able to live this down now with, like, any of the champions or
Oh
his
no,
sponsors.
no,
Yeah.
he's screwed.
Yeah. And I mean, it does play her hand. It does show everybody her actual skill, um, and it does, paint more of a target on her back. You know, she's already having to face these guys knowing that she's an 18-year-old girl. She's smaller than everybody and everything. She's just some petty jewel thief. What is she actually doing there? But now everybody can see, like, "Oh, fuck. She actually has skill. She can fight." Like, yeah, she was good with the bow. Yeah, she was able to climb the wall, and she could hold herself with javelin throwing and whatever, but fuck, she just took out a grown-ass man with, like, 3 moves and didn't even draw her sword.
Yeah, yeah, you have to be insanely skilled to pull off something like that.
Yeah.
That's not a fluke, or you know, she knew
No.
what she was doing. She had a goal, and she went for it, and she did it. So she's feeling a little cocky, rightfully so. She earned it.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes right up to Kane with all the confidence in the world, and the tension between them, you can just feel it. She calls herself, little lapdog. She's smiling at him, and Kane, he's acting very disinterested. Like, okay, like you thought you did something, but
Mhm.
whatever. But we know that the tension is being set, right, for them.
Mhm.
We know that they're going to be the ones at the end, pretty
Oh,
much.
definitely.
You know, um, at this point, I don't see Kane getting eaten by anything. He
No.
he's just he's too much of an integral player at this point. Um,
I would be very surprised, or I would have been very surprised, either way,
yeah,
if he was. But no, I definitely see Selena and Kane at the final duel.
yeah, yeah. So we got the stages set. Kane is going to definitely be her biggest obstacle. Can she actually beat him? That's a problem for another day. Right now, she got through this one. Um, you know, but she at least has gotten she has made it known, it's not going to be easy for you. And and I imagine that that's taking up a little bit of his, attention now, kind of like, damn it, I thought this was going to be a little easier. Now I actually kind of maybe have to pay attention to her. Ugh. you know, it's all about getting in their head.
Yep.
So we're going back. Selena's in her room. She's reflecting on her test, competition, the duel that's eventually going to come up between her and Kane. And there's snow is falling outside, and we've got this kind of just nice scene where she's being very reflective on everything that's currently going on because right now it's kind of crazy. She's looking back at the tapestry on of Queen Elena, the not ghost queen. That's her title forever now. And
Forever and ever. Not Ghost Queen.
and she's thinking, she used to wish for adventure in the great wide somewhere. And, you know,
You were supposed to sing that.
I was supposed to sing that.
It's a reference to Beauty and the Beast. She'd
Oh,
want adventure in the great wide somewhere. She'd want it more than she could tell. Anyways, that was my nerd moment.
oh, okay. I didn't catch that. But of course, she wished for adventure, but she didn't realize that she'd be fighting for her freedom or that she'd be alone. And we get a glimpse that she misses Sam. And, they haven't talked about Sam a whole lot. Um, we kind of know who he is and we know that he was taken from her and there was a betrayal.
Mhm.
And I think that with everything going on right with the competition and the flirting from Dorian, she hasn't had a whole lot of time to think about him, but she's alone right now and she's contemplative, right? She's thinking about her life and just how it went awry.
Yeah.
Um so she's noticing the tapestry. It's very symbolic. There's a stag representing Terrasen. It's standing beside Elena and it reminds her of her own roots and her hidden identity. The amulet is warm against her skin, subtle nudge that, magic is always watching, which is interesting in a world that has no magic.
Mhm.
Um, and, so you kind of have to wonder is is this wishful thinking, or like is it actually like providing something for her, protection, guidance, you know, is there an actual benefit to this necklace or is it mostly, just the reassurance of it there knowing that Elena, although she hasn't done a whole lot for her, she is watching her, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you mentioned, for a world supposedly with no magic, we are getting these like little things. We're like, are you sure? You know, with
Mhm.
with the amulet kind of being warm and giving that comforting feeling, these gargoyles, even Elena herself, this not ghost queen that keeps visiting her. Like how is that possible without magic?
That's true. That at the very root of everything, how is she doing that?
Right?
Um,
Little sir here wants answers, and I think we need to provide answers.
well, little sir, we'll,
And here is our chaotic moment.
mm,
So,
yeah, she's not having it.
no.
Okay, so we've got Selena. She's being, introspective, self-reflective. I think that means the same thing. Um, you know, and now we're shifting gears over to the most gracious lady, Caltaine, right? Everybody's favorite court lady. She's a woman with a plan, and yeah, uh, she's at the court with the queen. She's watching peasants do peasant things, acrobatics, and she doesn't care. But Parrington arranged for her to sit next to the queen, and she's not going to pass that opportunity up. I mean, she's the queen. Somebody says, "I'm getting you a seat next to the queen," you go and you sit next to the mother effer queen, okay? Um, Kaltain knows that she could press him to make her his duchess, although why? Because um, she doesn't wanna be a duchess. She wants more. She wants Dorian. She wants Dorian's bed, she wants his money, and she wants the position that comes with that. Girls got goals, but, we're seeing a problem here now is headaches. Her head is pounding.
Mhm.
Um, we've seen her, struggle with this, with the headaches, and they seem to be getting worse, and they're she's not getting any relief from them when she sleeps or anything like that. And, at this point, it seemed like there was a real issue with her. I had a thought and I completely lost the thought with that. Uh, um, she's trying to focus on being in the queen's good graces, right? Because she wants an in with Dorian.
Mhm.
And so she's fighting through the headache. She's still got to sit there for who knows how long, couple hours, and she can't leave to get to her pipe. And so that we're saying, oh, why is she so focused on the pipe? What's the pipe? Well, she's apparently addicted to something, right? I mean, that's a natural conclusion that I came to. Um, the queen, whether she's picking up on this or not, she's not letting on. But she does say that she wishes that she had met Dorian first and not Parrington. Uh, the queen believes herself to be an excellent judge of character, and she thinks that Kaltain would be a good match for Dorian. I'm thinking she's the only one who thinks that.
Yeah, I think so too. I get the feeling that this being just kinda lives in her own bubble and just is not the judge of character she thinks she is,
No.
and she really has no idea what is going on within her own court or within her own castle, whether that's just because of who she is and her personality or if that's maybe by the king's design, like, to keep her so sheltered and so away from everything, from the true politics
Mm.
and everything,
Oh, I think it's tailored, like, 100%.
but, like, how could you be a ruler and not have an interest in the actual things that are going on within your kingdom? Like, your only your only concerns are your hellish little boy getting your oldest married and have him knock somebody up for an heir, and let's watch all these performances, like, that to me is not a true queen.
Yeah, honestly, it could be that she knows that the king is an absolute monster, and she says, "You know what? I will just do whatever I need to do to keep myself alive, and if that means existing in my bubble, then I live in my bubble."
I mean, yeah, it could be willful ignorance,
Yeah,
is that the right like,
yeah,
she doesn't want to know
I could see that.
all the
I could see her just not wanting to know.
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way.
K
I wish we got more of a backstory with the queen, I just anytime the queen came up, I was just like, "Oh, she has no redeeming anything, she is not an interesting character to me. Can we get through these scenes?"
Yeah, there could have been potential for a bit more,
Yeah.
but, there were already so many characters.
Yeah, then we do have a lot of characters, and we have a lot of, like, other little things going on, so trying to develop yet another character would have been a lot. I think because we watch a lot of K-dramas and we watch a lot of shows where we have these powerful women, and I like to read stories with powerful women, as do you with your sci-fi and horror and stuff. So I'm used to queens being more.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. That's a good
Like,
point.
she is very, like,
Not.
"I'm in a bubble," and "Yay, performances," and "When are you having babies?" Like, yeah, it just ugh, anyways.
Yeah. Mm, mm, it did bring a nice contrast though to, um, the things that some of these other characters are going through.
Mm.
Because, I mean, you literally have, Selena stressing about how she's gonna fight Mr. Monster Man, and Dorian and Kale are also kind of like, "Oh, this is getting a little hairy." And on the complete opposite side, you just have these people who are like, "How do I get in Dorian's bed? You're his mother. Can you help me?"
Right.
Yeah. Different, completely different worries for different people who have like no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
All this shiz going on over here. Oops. Sorry, Mike. And then fa la 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 over here.
It would be an interesting take, like, we have all of this going on with Selena and Dorian and Parrington and everything, and then we have, like, a completely different story on what's going on with the queen and her little bubble of politics and court disasters and court intrigue, and it would read like a historical, maybe almost romance, a historical
Mhm.
intrigue versus, like, our fantasy, like 2 completely different genres happening in the same world. Oh,
Yeah. Eh, I liked um the reveals in this chapter.
mhm.
There was a lot of high stakes tension. There's, more mysteries going around Kane and whatever his deal is. And then just a lot of different layers of things, and we've got some, foreshadowing with different, so the necklace, and just a lot of different things that will we get answers for? Maybe.
Hopefully. Hopefully soon. That leads us into chapter 30, and the chapter kicks off with Selena training under Kale's watchful and skeptical eye. Her task? She has to hit a nearly impossible target at a ridiculous distance because, she didn't do that already in the
Mhm.
archery test. Kale, in his classic snark, is quick to point out that she'll miss if she doesn't focus, and she fires back with her usual flair. I'm going to hit you in the head if you don't shut up. Iconic. So, while not even looking at the target, Selena is focused on Kale and releases the arrow. The arrow flies and it hits, but she misses the bullseye by 6 inches. It was a little to the left. So,
Uh,
yeah,
mhm.
Kale was right, but I mean,
I would've missed the target, so
right? I would have hit the wall. It would have bounced off the ceiling and, like, ricocheted back at me,
right,
like,
yeah. It's like, "How did you hit your own foot?" Well, okay, first of all, shut up.
I mean, I kind of almost did that with the axe one time when we went axe throwing,
Well, yeah, yeah.
but not my fault it bounced off. Anyways, um, so there is tension between them in this scene, a lot of their bickering and bantering, the unspoken chemistry between them. Uh, Selena notices that while she's studying him, that he has purple under his eyes and that he probably hasn't been sleeping due to all these murders. But she also hasn't been sleeping. There's been no real pattern to these murders. Like, how are these champions being selected? As of right now, it's only champions being selected, nobody else in the castle. So what is this connection? There is no connection. 5 of them are dead, and other than them all being champions, there's no other connection. She also doesn't know if there were any word marks at the other murder sites.
Because she only saw the one, right? The one murder site.
Yeah, she only saw Xavier's. So, without talking to Kale, she's not gonna know, and Kale, who hasn't really studied the word marks, wouldn't know either, or maybe
Yeah, would he?
didn't think to look for them.
Yeah, would he even? If he was even looking right at it, would he, or would he just think it was just like blood that got?
Gibberish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, at this point in time, Selena does drop a major revelation. She tells Kale that Kane knows who she really is.
Dun-
She is Selena Serdathian, Adarlan's assassin. And the kicker, it was Duke Parrington who told Kane, because how else would Kane have known? But Kane hasn't exposed her yet to any of the other competitors, which is Kale's biggest worry. Um, so is Kane saving this information for a later advantage? Why not tell the others who she is?
And why does Parrington know?
Well, because remember, Parrington went with Dorian and
Oh,
Kale.
you're right. I completely forgot. Sorry. I thought that was a big old like dun dun, and it was just me fucking up. Sorry, everybody.
That was literally chapter 2.
Chapter 2 was a long time ago.
It really was. Um, yeah, so no, Parrington was there, so Parrington knows.
I completely forgot.
But what was Parrington's end game in tipping Kane off and tipping Kane off so early? So is the Duke more involved in this competition or even the murders than we initially thought?
Mm, I mean, yeah, he's definitely more invested than I would think he should be.
But he's also the king's like right hand man, so like I think he has like an invested stake. Like he has to win this competition because he is the king's right hand man. Like he needs to show up, Prince Dorian and everybody else.
That's yeah, that's true. That's he does have, something to prove,
Yeah.
supposedly. I mean, he definitely has an end game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the moment shifts between Selena and Kale when a couple of guards burst in and they inform Kale that he needs to come quickly. There's been another grisly crime scene. Selena insists on coming along, and Kale, much to our surprise, agrees. She can tag along, and maybe her skills might prove useful. So their dynamic here is subtle but layered. Kale is protective about her, not wanting her to be at this murder scene, but he's starting to respect her abilities.
Hmm.
Um, something that he won't admit outright. The the crime scene, like all the others, is horrific. And who is the murder victim this time? It's Varen, the loudmouth thief that Selena literally just fought.
Poor guy.
I mean, karma?
Yeah, I guess.
So
Yes.
his brain is missing, his chest is ripped open, he's missing his face. There are claw marks gouged into the stone around him. And what's a little different about this murder? There are 2 word marks on either side of his body, but not marked in blood. They're marked in chalk this time. So it's not the same replicated murder as Xavier, where we saw the word marks in blood and then smeared. This time it's in chalk.
It's like the murders have been like it's like a refining process. Like
Yeah.
like you have the one who was murdered and there was like nothing, and then there was the murder and there was a part of a word mark written in blood, and now you have another one and it's nice and in chalk. Like it's each one is getting
More
more
refined,
refined
more
and
perfected.
yeah, like there's definitely a pattern that you're seeing somebody's
Mhm.
leveling up their game as they're going.
Yeah. So Selena's analytical side kicks in as she examines the scene, examines the body. She notices the clean claw marks, meaning the killer had time to sharpen its claws in the stone, and Varen's desperate attempts to escape. Her observations are sharp and chilling, painting a picture of a predator who takes its time. She notices that Varen's ankles were slashed, cutting the tendons so he wouldn't
Mm.
be able to run, and
Ugh.
she examines his nails, and notices that there's stone and dirt, and his nails are caked and cracked because he was attempting to drag himself away, to get away from this. She asks the guard how fresh the corpse is, and the guard says that he probably died last night. The blood is half dried. So my question is, are these servants' passageways, because that's where he is found again,
Mhm.
like Xavier and the others, are these not commonly used? Like, or are these more like Selena's secret tunnels?
Secret
Like,
tunnel.
secret tunnels! How are these bodies not being discovered faster if they are in active servants' passages?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me, and I honestly don't know if that's an oversight in the story, in the writing, or if it's, like you said, different, not used to but somebody found them at some point.
At some point, I mean, I get at night the servants aren't going to be as active, but you would think that there would be some
At
who
least
were like,
something.
like the night shift, last minute whatevers, or whoever is requesting hot milk at 2 a.m.,
Mhm.
We also saw, Dorian and Selena who made requests for a bunch
Snacks.
of desserts and snacks, late at night. So they would be there would be some usage of tunnels.
You would think. Yeah, it's just a little weird. It doesn't it's hard to imagine how a body would not have been discovered almost immediately,
Yeah.
or somebody walking in on him during the
Mhm.
actual murderification.
Yes.
Like
So something also to note that, or at least that I noted, it was noted that Varen had been head of the pack of the champions since the competition started. And this was news to me because this whole time we're getting the sense that Kane was head of the pack. Kane was getting all the praise from Brulo,
mhm.
and it sounded like Kane was winning all the competitions. So to hear that Varen was actually head of the pack is news. So was that why he's targeted? I kinda wish that there was, like, a leaderboard or
Yeah.
something, after each test so we kinda know, like, what the rankings of the champs were, but yeah.
It would've been yeah, it would've been nice to get a little bit of just, uh, um, oh, what's the word I'm trying to think of? I can't think of the word, but it's the thing so that you have reference to, the things around you.
Yeah. Selena's assessment points
Context.
assessment
Sorry.
oh,
Context is the word I was looking for.
context makes sense.
Dear Lord.
Selena's assessment points to something terrifying. Varen was alive while his killer prepared to attack, and it wasn't a random beast. It was likely summoned by someone. The deliberate nature of the wounds and the presence of the word marks suggest a ritualistic killing. There was no blood in the claw marks, so whoever did this sharpened its claws before gutting Varen. And it just points to the fact, again, like we said, that this creature had time to sharpen its claws. This whole scene kind of made my forensic anthropology heart happy. Not because of the murder, but because she took the time to analyze the crime
Oh,
scene and, looked at everything.
she's Batman.
or she's Dr. Rakes from Bones,
Mm.
but in a fantasy world.
Mhm.
So, Kale and Selena continue to look at the clues around them, trying to see everything. They look at the torches, and the torches in the hall are almost burnt to stubs, and there's no signs of them being extinguished before the attack. So, if the torches are being lit, then this is a servant's passageway that is being used. So, how did no servant again come across this body earlier? And there is no magic in this world, so we know that these torches are being lit by hand. They're not just like magic torches that spring when it's dark.
Mhm.
My next question: what on earth is Varen doing in these hallways and by himself? What were any of the champions doing alone and wandering about? All of the previously murdered ones. Are they not guarded like Selena is?
You kinda get
Like
the idea that they're not, like
like anywhere Selena goes, she has guards with her. So knowing how dangerous some of these other champions are, like, how are they not guarded 24/7?
yeah, unless unless there is just somebody who's pulling the strings,
Mm.
higher above, and whoever is doing this is able to go to them and be like, "Hey, I need you to come with me or meet me here," or so is it somebody that they know? Somebody that they don't
Mm.
perceive necessarily as a threat, and then they end up, in these dark quarters, and then it's like, "Ha, gotcha, bitch."
I mean, yeah.
Like
Yeah. Uh,
yeah, they must be getting originally, I thought that they were just maybe in the wrong place at the wrong time,
mm,
but now, rereading it, I kind of feel like they're being drawn there by somebody who is literally like, "Hey, like, either I'll help you out or you need to help me out or something," and then when I said help out, I meant I need your innards.
yeah, I mean, that's possible. I just these were some of the questions I was thinking, like, this is just a little too convenient, like, these are my little plot holes that I'm finding. But so going back to these torches, there's no traces of soot water, so the torches were still burning when Varen died, if Varen died during the night. Selena points out that the nearest doorway is 50 feet down and the nearest corner is a bit farther than that. If the torches were burning, Varen clearly saw who or what attacked him. Again, his ankle tendons were snapped by a knife, so he couldn't get away. He was disabled as someone summoned a creature, perhaps? Suit and cracked fingernails show that Varen was scrambling to get away. Selena comes to the realization that perhaps the champion's killer and Elena's mysterious evil force might be one and the same.
Gargoyles.
Husband is still on the gargoyle theory.
Telling you, I think it's the gargoyles.
Kale's reaction is telling. He's shaken, but he trusts Elena's deductions, even when they border on the supernatural. And it's a pivotal moment in their partnership. Um, I know you wrote that he's beginning to see her as an equal and not as a prisoner, but I don't quite agree with this.
That was more of a just, I feel like it was inferred
Mm,
from the way that the dynamic of their relationship is changing a bit, just based on the fact that he allowed her to come with him to
yeah,
the murder scene. I think is showing us that his opinion and view of her is changing, and he is taking what she says and brings to the table more seriously than he was before.
I get that. I understand that. I think I've been burned by him a lot.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
makes progress. He takes a step forward with Selena and then he takes 3 steps back. So I'm waiting for him to pull the rug again. Like, yes, he brought her this time to get her insights, and then I feel like he's immediately gonna shut down and be like, "Yeah, you're still a criminal.
Well, that's why I think he's beginning to see her as but he doesn't yet. It's just you can see, at least I think you can see the openings of this change in his perception, and we're
Okay.
hoping that he's going to be less of a
I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
pray for our boy Kale. Hopes and prayers for Kale.
If the word marks are being used to summon these creatures, who is wielding this power? And how are they getting away with it right under the castle's nose? But also, if there's no magic,
Mm-hmm.
how are people using word marks?
That is the burning question.
Yes. Yes, it is. Back in her room, Selena is combing through her books, trying to find any sign of the two word marks that were next to Viren, and she's just not having any luck. And this is the third time that I believe it's third time, but Dorian has yet again entered her room and startling her. What has happened to her creaky hinges?
What's just
This is
happened to her
being an
perception of
assassin.
the
This is bothering me to no end.
No, I agree cuz he shouldn't. No. She was
He
distracted the first time.
with the piano forte. Yes.
But I mean, come on now.
And even throwing a tantrum with the billards. I feel like she still should have been able to sense him. He's a human prince. He, yes, has had training with various weapons and stuff, but he has not had her training to be able to sneak up on people. And he has managed to do this like 3 times. But I digress. So, Dorian confirms that all the murders that happen that have happened were in the dark in isolated hallways. So maybe they're not regularly used hallways, but used enough that they still light the torches. And that she is never without guards. Her chambers are well watched, so he's okay to roam the regular hallways to her room from his room at night. Um, Dorian's hounds Dorian's hound had puppies and they're all mutts, not purebreds like he was hoping.
I love that they're mutts.
Oh, I do too. Mutts are the best. Selena teases him, dogs or women. They banter and it's cute. I love their little banters and their flirting. He wants to know more about her, about becoming an assassin and more, which is, again, like I mentioned earlier, complete opposite of Kale, who didn't want to learn anything about Selena. And I feel like he learned things here and there, but kind of begrudgingly. This exchange takes another unexpected turn when Dorian, out of nowhere, asks Selena to play the pianoforte again for him. The request is oddly personal, catching her off guard, and her hesitation isn't just about shyness, it's a reflection of how deeply music ties into her identity and the life she left behind. So they go back and forth, and Selena agrees. Dorian is able to ask one personal question of her, and she confides in him that she loves music because for once she is able to create something, not destroy. And she further tells him that when she was young, she wanted to be a healer, and music reminds her of that feeling, that creative feeling. It's a rare moment of vulnerability. Selena, the assassin with blood on her hands, longs to create something beautiful. And this line speaks volumes about her internal struggle and hints at the possibility for redemption, even if she doesn't fully believe it herself. Dorian listens intently, his genuine curiosity about her past driving just home about how much he cares for her. In turn, she gets to ask him a personal question, and she asks why he isn't married yet. We find out that he is 19
He's a
and
baby.
is a baby, just like she is, 18 and 19. He's not married because he can't stomach the idea of marrying a woman inferior to him in mind and spirit. Selena mocks him for it, saying marriage is a contract, not a sacred thing, especially since he is a crown prince. They're abusing. Scratch that. Their opposing views highlight the stark difference in their upbringings. Dorian, despite being royalty, clings to ideals that feel out of place in a world so full of political maneuvering and betrayal. And Selena, on the other hand, has seen too much of life's cruelty to entertain such notions. So the deeper question is Dorian's idealism a weakness or a strength? And could Selena ever allow herself to believe in something so hopeful?
That's a hard ask, I think, for her at this moment.
Hmm.
She still has so much that she's dealing with. And honestly, the last thing she needs is to be worrying about a relationship with anybody, much less a prince. Could she allow it, someday? Yeah, maybe. Um, but not today. And, Dorian, I think it's hard to say, idealism being a weakness or a strength because it can go both ways, honestly. Like, you know, I if you hold on to those ideals a little too tight, sometimes it can end up hurting you when you're not able to make a tough call.
Mhm.
But if you have no ideals, then you won't stand up for the things to try and protect them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's not an easy question to answer.
No, no, it's not. Um, I think too, they're both quite young still, and your views change, you know,
Hmm.
with different life experiences as you get older. They might not feel the same way, in 5, 10 years. It's also harder on the crown prince because the crown prince is expected to marry not for love.
No,
They have to make those political arrangements. They have to secure the throne. They have to have legitimate heirs, and it's hard, I would say, for a prince or a princess because you are tied to your people and you are tied to, all the political
your duty.
in yeah, your duty. He doesn't have the freedom as much as he wants it. He doesn't have the freedom for true love.
I mean, it's a I like idealism and all that is great, but doesn't always work the way that
No.
you know.
So while they bicker banter over this topic, Dorian moves closer and his hand brushes over hers, and he realizes she's wearing a ring. And he asks where it's from, who gave it to her, and she doesn't tell him, knowing that Kale wouldn't want Dorian to know that the ring was from him. Dun dun dun.
Yep.
Keeping secrets already. Somehow, the way the collar of Dorian's black jacket lays across his neck makes her feel a little bothered. So she quickly gets up, moves away from him, and asks him for a game of billiards, realizing that she's starting to really like Dorian, all the while wearing Kale's ring
And I love that she wants to distract herself by playing a game with balls.
and sticks.
Not a great game choice.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Never.
While this is happening, while Dorian and Selena are flirting and playing with balls and sticks, Kale is at the dining hall watching Parrington. Parrington hadn't seemed bothered about Varen's death when Kale told him, and in fact, most of the champion sponsors didn't seem bothered by it at all. So perhaps Selena was right, and the one responsible was one of them wanting to secure their champion as the winner. Kale also notices like some shadows stretching across Parrington's face throughout dinner, like a shade that is clouding his eyes. It was strange enough when Kale first witnessed it that he decided to extend his dinner and continue to watch. A few moments later, he was rewarded and he saw that the Duke's eyes became dark, and then his face cleared as if he saw the world for what it was and there was no joy or amusement in it.
So, uh, just thinking about that, do you think that that was a moment where we were seeing Parrington fighting for like his own clarity of mind, or
Mm.
because there's something clearly going on with him,
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
and just the way that that is, the way that that scene is described, it just seemed like there was a moment where he was disconnected, and then something reasserted
Mm.
influence like on him, right?
When I first read it, I was actually thinking like something was communicating with him or he was
Mm.
communicating with something.
Oh, that's a good, actually, that's a good one too.
But it could go either way, or maybe it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I mean, because we just don't have enough information about what's going on,
Mhm.
and whether, yeah, we just don't. It's just interesting. It's just something that stuck out to me was it just seemed like he wasn't there, and then something was there.
Mhm.
But is it Parrington, or is it something else? Or is it Parrington with
Talking with
talking with
something.
something else, or, something, right? But I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely something.
Yeah, there is definitely something there. Kale notes that Caltaine is sitting just a few chairs away, and that she didn't look at Parrington with love or longing, which we all know she
Mhm.
has none of for him, but nobody else knows that. In fact, she's staring at Parrington with cold contemplation. Dorian had not shown up for dinner, and Kel looked over at Parrington again to see Parrington look down to the black ring on his left hand, and his eyes darkened, as if the pupils expanded to encompass all of his eyes. And then it was gone. He quickly looked to Keltane to see if she noticed. I have to admit, I don't remember Parrington having this black ring. I know that we've read that Cain had this black ring, because Selena mentioned like why wear this huge black ring,
Yeah.
to training and everything. And Cain is Parrington's champion, but I don't remember Parrington having a ring. I would have to go back and research that. But
I yeah, I don't, I feel like if it wasn't mentioned, I feel like it must have been inferred
hmm,
or something. Um, but yeah, I would have to go back and really look through and see if that was mentioned before. Or maybe it was just we got the description of the eyes, and so we just, in your head, you just assume that the two things are connected somehow, maybe? I don't remember, but
maybe. So there is a so knowing now that both Cain and Parrington have these black rings, it would make sense to assume that there is a connection between them since Cain is Parrington's champion. And they both have these black rings. Can they communicate through these
Mm,
rings, even though there's no magic in this world?
I we've already seen so much magic.
Or something like magic,
Like, is the magic actually not,
not gone like we are told it is? Maybe the rings are a way to circumvent that? So
I don't know,
since
maybe.
that's
Interesting.
something
I like that.
something to debate. Since it seems like to Kale, Keltane didn't notice anything, he decides to stretch and, make his way out. He decides Parrington is a schemer, but he's not a threat to the castle or inhabitants. But as he leaves, he has this feeling that Parrington had been watching him all evening too. And my boy Kale, how can he think that Parrington is not a threat to anyone when he just witnessed Parrington's eyes go black several times? How can he not put Parrington into any sus columns? Like,
Yeah, he's not doing a good job at his whole guarding job thing because unless he just looked at it and explained it away in his head, like,
it
nah,
was the shadows.
shadows or I'm tired or something.
Maybe maybe because Keltane didn't react.
It would be very
It
easy. Yeah, I would doubt myself probably. Like if nobody else, like 'cause, I mean, she was
Mhm.
staring right at him,
Yeah.
and so if if nobody else reacted, and I was like, no, well, hmm, did I see? No, maybe I didn't. Maybe I just need some more water or something.
I need to lay off the mead tonight,
Exactly. Like it would be easy to explain, to rationalize.
Mhm. Uh,
All right, chapter 31. Selena is sleeping. She wakes up and she finds a spectral visitor at the foot of her bed. Is this a dream? Is it a ghost? Is it a not ghost? Uh, is it a just a hallucination from sleep deprivation? What is going on here with Selena? We know the girl's tired and she's got a lot on her mind, and the last thing she's expecting is to be woken up in the middle of the night with some floating thing at the foot of her bed, and it's her favorite person. It's good old Elena, the first queen of Ardalan. A oh, Ad Arlen, back with her cryptic advice. That's really not worth. Well, actually, this one is actually okay. Uh, what is it with ghosts and their inability to just say what they mean?
Amen.
Elena tells Selena, "You must win this competition." Like, no shit. Um, but wait, it's not for Selena's freedom this time. It's because Elena is apparently really invested in her success. Um, and my question is why? Like the goal has been this whole time, you have to win this competition. We know that, right? Why all of a sudden are you like a cheerleader? Like you got to win, you know? Like just kind of odd. But then she comes in and she drops another thing, and she's like, "Keep an eye on your right."
That's not cryptic at all.
And and then Selena immediately looks to her right, sees the tapestry for the hidden passage, right? And she's like, um, okay,
What?
is that what you meant? Or, and then Elena's gone. And Selena's just like, okay.
What the hell?
um, so of course, we're sitting here wondering, is it a literal, like, look to your right? So does Selena need to be constantly like checking stuff to her right as she's going about her day? Is that a clue? Is that a clue? Is that the clue? Or is it one of those, you'll know when the time, you'll know when you know, and that's when you'll know? And it's like, well, If
Straightforward answers, please.
if it was me, I'd be dead because I don't pick up on stuff like that.
No, I'm not yeah, I don't either. Like, if it's subtle, like, please just shoot me. Just lay it out for me in black and white, A to B.
Be like, I'm sorry, ghost lady, I'm gonna screw this up. You need to come back and leave me some written notes because
Yes.
yeah, it's not gonna. Nope. Um. So now it's test day. It's 2 weeks after Samhain. They had another test that we didn't get to see, which is knife throwing, which is a damn shame because the knife throwing is fun.
It is super fun, and that would have been a great scene to read about.
We've had another champion die 2 days before this. So our champions are now down to 13 from 24.
Jeez.
So yeah, 11 champions have died. Now they haven't all been sacrificed because we did have one get an arrow to the throat and we had one fall off of the wall.
Mhm.
So 9.
Yes.
That's not a great number.
No.
Um, so we've got the current test that we do get to see is a test of poisons. The 7 poisons in different goblets. Selena and the others, they have to arrange them from the most benign to the deadliest. Again, I'd be dead. The true
Same.
the true test would be at the end when they would have to drink from the goblet that they deemed the most harmless. Whoever got the most wrong would go home. Hopefully.
If the antidote works.
And yeah, like I said, I would fail and I would die. And, just even with
Yeah.
antidotes on hand, I feel like they wouldn't get to me in time. They'd be like, which one did he drink? Which antidote is it? So naturally you assume as an assassin that this should be a fairly easy win for her because as an assassin, she would be trained in poisons, right?
Mhm.
But of course, no, this is going to be more complex and it's in front of a bunch of people. So she doesn't have the ability to probably go about this the way that she would normally go about this. And typically, she would be dosing it. No, dosing it out? Do whatever.
Yeah,
She wouldn't be the one drinking it.
correct.
um, so this is how the setup is. They're supposed to drink what they think is the least harmful poison. They guess wrong, they're on the floor choking for the antidote. So you know that somebody looked at this and went, "This is gonna be a fun test." Like, who did this?
Hopefully. Yeah. And maybe they were hoping to, knock 1 or 2 more competitors out of the running.
No, yeah. The poisons are put into bronze goblets, so the champions can't see what color the liquid is because that, would give it away. Some mixed with sweet dessert wine. We don't know if it's anything else they're mixed with. And there's 3 minutes left on the test, and Selena is attempting to clear her nostrils, get a sense of trying to get the sense of these poisons, right?
It's me of, when we were doing Sensi and you were, like, smelling all the different testers and, to see which wax you wanna buy, what scents you like, and after a while, you can't smell them anymore,
Mm-mm.
so we'd have coffee beans on
Mm-hmm.
hand, and that would just help
Yep.
clear
It's
and
a
yeah,
palate cleanser.
yes, and they did not seem to give the champions that.
I know. She should have had coffee beans. So on her left, she can see that Nox is struggling. And on her right, Paylor is watching her. And he was down to the 2 same goblets that she's struggling with. So he put the water glass at the very end as the most poisonous and the wine glass at the other as the least poisonous. Um,
So I thought, and maybe I read this wrong. I probably did read this wrong. I thought like all of the goblets were like the same, like all bronze goblets, and then you had to like just basically smell or dip your fingers in to see like what they thought was poison in each one, like what type of
mm,
poison. But from the way she continues to describe it, like there's a water glass and then there's a wine glass. So maybe all 7 cups are different?
see, I thought they were all the same too when I read it first. Like I was like, "Oh yeah, you put them in the bronze so you won't see any coloration and then you're really gonna
Yeah.
have to be sit there like, "Oh shit, did I think that this one was this way and this one was that way?"
Like, because
Like,
then if they're all in the bronze, you can't see what color it is, you're going based solely on smell unless you did like what she did and she dipped her finger in one, to see if it was, like, purple or clear or whatever, I don't know, so maybe somebody can explain to us, because
yeah,
like, how would she know and how would he know, like, his last 2 glasses are the same as hers, one being a wine glass and one being a water glass, unless all the goblets were different.
maybe they're differently shaped, but they're all still bronze?
Yeah. I don't know.
Uh,
I'll have to go back and reread for the
um,
5th time.
yeah. So she's looking at what Paylor's doing, and their eyes meet just super briefly, and he gives her a barely detectable nod, and then she remembers that the first day during introductions, he said he was trained in poisons, and he was
Mhm.
standing to her right. Chill goes down her spine, and she's like, "Oh, Elena was telling me, look to my right. This is my right. This is the warning." So Selena followed, doing exactly what he did, moving the 2 glasses into place like Palar.
Mhm.
Um, and she's going out on a leap of faith here because, I mean, she's really got nothing to back this up other than not ghost lady at the foot of her bed, right? So she's taking a pretty big leap, and I mean, Paler has no reason to help her other than the fact that he doesn't want to get slaughtered by Cain, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it is all tying together, right? Um, we do know that Cain did torment Palor, right? Because he's smaller, and she has a habit of getting allies that were the ones that were kind of the on the outskirts, and because she herself is on the outskirts, right? And so she's taking a chance here. And we're gonna see, does it work to her favor? We're gonna, it's a big leap. Even with antidotes, I would not want to drink poison.
No, not at all.
um, it is worth noting though that it seems like nobody even really remembered anything about him,
Mhm.
because if they had remembered him saying, "Oh yeah, I was trained in poisons," then they wouldn't have had him up there where people could just watch what he was doing.
Oh, no, they would've, like, brought them in one by one and
Yeah,
done this test, or they would've had, like, some sort of blinders or something up so people couldn't look over and see.
yeah. Um, so the time is up. The champions gotta put their, glasses into the right orders. Antidotes are ready because somebody screwed up. And one champion drank the water and he was on the ground before Brullo could even give him the antidote, and that was Bloodbane. The champion was forced to swallow the antidote and then rushed to infirmary. Brullo
Jeez.
then stops at her table and orders her to drink. With a final look at Paylor, she drank the wine, and Brullo claps her on the back and announces the right one, just wine. Moves on to Paylor, who also drinks the wine. 2 winners. What are the chances?
Woo!
But I think that that also helped to further cement the, you don't want to sit there and be like, oh yeah, just trust Elena because, you know, still she's doing all this cryptic, shit that doesn't need to be done. But
Mhm.
she didn't lead her astray.
Yeah.
She did give her a good thing to, and thankfully Selena was smart enough to recognize something, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I mean that's how she ended up not going to the infirmary.
Yeah, thankfully, she was, subjugated to anything painful and, having to take the antidote, and
Yeah,
instead it was Kane. Kane drank belladonna and turned purple in the face. So that was great to read about.
right, yeah. Um, Nice to know that he doesn't ace everything,
Yes. Yes, it's good to see him humbled, at least every now and then.
right? I feel like he's just mad about it later, though. He's just like, stupid, stupid test.
Right. I mean, poisons is a good thing to learn to have on hand, especially if you're going to be sneaking around and assassinating people, it you're not gonna be killing them with swords and arrows and whatnot all the time. Sometimes you need a little bit more stealthy way. So, this was a good, fun scene. We get a little bit of the drama. We also get, like, that tie-in with Elena and Selena realizing, like, "Oh, she is actually trying to help me.
Mhm.
Maybe I can start putting some trust in her."
Yeah, she's on her side,
Yeah.
at least for now.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see how that goes.
Yeah, it was a good wrap up to seeing, who is on what side, you know, and showing her again that she's not completely on her own. She does have allies and friends, even with the other champions, if by nothing else, the fact that they have a soul hatred for Kane,
Yeah.
and that makes them allies.
Yes.
It was good. No, I liked the way it went. Good chapter.
Yes. Moving on to chapter 32, Nehemia and Selena decide to cut their language lesson for the day short in order to take a stroll. They took turns practicing, the common tongue in Elway, even though they both prefer Elway, even if it was just, to talk about things in private or to get the strange looks that people gave them when speaking in Elway. Yolmis is a month away, with the final test 5 days after that. Nehemia tells her that they're friends, and when Selena needs her, she will be there for her. Selena, is kind of taken aback and tells her, like, no one has called her a friend in a really long time. And it's kind of a pivotal moment for the both of them,
Mhm.
especially for Selena, who hasn't had anyone in her corner in quite a long while. And Nehemia invites her to watch the Queen's show that night with her, and Selena regretfully has to decline because Selena needs to be back in her room, she can't be at court.
Yeah, right.
Nehemia knows yeah. Nehemia knows they all have their secrets, but is curious to know why she is so closely watched by the captain and is locked in her rooms at night. Nehemia thinks that Kale is afraid of Selena.
Yeah, I think he is too.
Yeah.
She's a strong, independent woman.
Who's also very, very dangerous. This moment is so poignant, it almost makes you forget that one of them might be hiding secrets. Nemia, or both of them.
How about everybody?
Yes. Who is not holding a secret at this point? Raise
Right?
your hand. It's honestly a nice glimpse of Selena letting her guard down, showing how much she values this newfound friendship. Nehemia's sincerity and warmth shine, but there's still the lingering question: how much of Nehemia's kindness is genuine, and how much is part of a larger plan? because we do know that she is hiding something. Selena is also hiding a secret from Nehemia, so they both have something. Selena remarks that Nehemia seems to be getting along better with the queen now, and Nehemia tells her it's in Elway's best interest if she makes nice with the queen. So
I mean,
they
does it really though? The queen doesn't really have any. We've established the queen doesn't really have any real power or like.
we believe that the queen has no power, but I think at this point Nehemia doesn't know that the queen doesn't really have sway with the
Uh,
king. So if she makes nice with the queen, then maybe she'll be able to get on the king's good side.
that's a good point.
So during their walk, they wind up at the kennels where Dorian and his new puppies are. There are 4 puppies in total, one by itself, as it doesn't like people. Same
Same.
puppy, same. Dorian and Selena fight about the treatment of this puppy, and he finally agrees that he won't have it killed and will arrange a home for it just because Selena asks him to. Nehemia watches how close the two get to each other before Dorian tells Nehemia that she needs to go get ready and get dressed for her evening with the queen. Nehemia asks Selena to walk back to her rooms with her, and once they are alone, Nehemia admits that there is a connection between Dorian and Selena and, questions her girl to girl. Do you like him?
Ooh la la.
Selena denies it left and right because, of course, she does. She's not ready to admit anything. And then they part ways. Selena notices that her own guards follow at a respectful distance away, and that distance seems to be growing longer and longer. She wonders if Kale has anything to do with it. On her way to her room, she stops at a window in the castle and, is contemplative, is looking outside, and she notices something shift in the reflection of the window. Whirling around, she confronts a man standing behind her. Who other than Kane? Because, of course, Kane
Mhm.
is panting. His mouth is opening and closing like a fish fresh from water. His dark eyes are wide, hand around his throat. She hoped that he's choking to death because what better way, you know, for him to end? But no, he's glancing all around. He's frantic. The grip on his throat tightens. And there we get another mention of the black ring on his finger. And again, he somehow manages to put on an additional 10 pounds of muscles in the past few days. In fact, every single time that Selena has seen him, he has seemed to have gotten bigger.
That right
And
there, that ain't right.
no, no, something definitely fishy is going on. Like a jackrabbit, Kane takes off down the hall faster than he should have been able to given his size. And Selena is just like, what the fuck? Like, what was that all about? She waits until he's gone before she rushes to her rooms. She sends a message to Nox and Paylor to not leave their rooms that night and don't answer the door for anyone,
Yeah, somebody could get murdered. Like,
right? Yeah, no, that was out of all the weird strangeness from Kane, that was definitely the strangest by far that we've seen.
I want to know if if it had been anybody but her, if they would have ended up dead.
Hmm,
But
maybe.
if there's something about her that she has to make it to the end, and so like the he was instructed to not do anything to her or something, you know?
Mhm.
Um, 'Cause it just seems odd that he would just run. I mean, obviously he had something else going on, but it just still seems odd that
I got the sense, like, there was, like, this internal struggle. Like, we just had that scene with Parrington having the shadows, his
Um,
eyes black, almost as if he was communicating or something was communicating or taking over him. I got the sense that that was happening to Kane.
so maybe it was fighting it and losing.
Yeah, like, he was trying to stay in control, but whatever it was really wanted to communicate with him or take over him, um, and he just, you know yeah, was losing the control, and he just like, maybe he saw Selena and was like, "Oh god, the one person that could knock me out and make this stop,"
Mm.
but she was too, like, "Die, bitch, die," like, "Please choke and kill yourself," but also, like, "What do I do because you're not acting normal?" And so he was just like, "Crap," and ran for it,
Yeah,
oh, there's so many different theories and things
it's
happening
true.
and
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't know who's in charge of what and who's doing what and who's killing who, and we just know that there's something weird with Parrington. We know there's something really weird with Kane. Um, but up to this point, that's all we've got is
yeah,
is general is general weirdness. Like there's nothing really concrete yet about the
any
murders
of it.
or anything.
Yeah.
Um, it just for a character who has been so openly antagonistic towards her, it would be very strange to turn around and see him acting this way and then running off instead of acting weird and then attacking you.
Attack. Yeah.
And that, if I was her, I would be like, put up your dukes and he's running and we are not chasing.
No,
Yeah, that's how. Um, so yeah, general weirdness all around.
definitely.
And weirdness, it doesn't stop. Like, um, so we're rounding into chapter 33 and we're back on Caltaine and poor girl, she is suffering. Um, she's got the horrible headaches and the only relief she gets is from her pipes. And of course, while she's trying to get some of that sweet relief, Parrington announces himself and she's got to rush into the dressing room to change and spray on a bunch of perfume so that she doesn't smell like opium.
I would think, though, that the perfume would just bring on those headaches even more.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, I think that's one of those things that people have. When they try to deceive themselves. It's like people who just smoke in general. You sit there and you think, oh, yeah, I'll just like air this out and I'll spray a little whatever. And it clings. And, opium, especially if it's coming out of a pipe,
Mhm.
it's going to cling to everything, your
Yeah.
skin, your hair. Like, she's not fooling anybody, but she thinks that she is. Opium is also a highly addictive drug. It messes with your head, like, big time.
Think we're gonna see that too in this chapter.
So so Parrington looks like he's ready for battle, which is an odd way to describe somebody who's announcing themselves into a ladies' quarter.
Yes.
"I've come to fight you." Um,
Why?
why? Mm. "I brought my spear."
Yeah, you did.
Um,
Wait, wrong person.
so Caltaine notes that the world is foggy around the edges, her body feels heavy, and when she looks at him in the eyes, a piece of the world kind of like slips away. But then, when upon the release of her hand, the walls of the room appeared, then the floor and the ceiling, and she felt like she was trapped in a box. So there is definitely something happening here. Are we looking at the side effects of the opium, or are we looking at the side effects of Parrington's ring
Mm.
or Parrington? Yep. like we still don't actually really know what is the deal with like all of
The
that.
rings or anything. See, and I don't know what the side effects or opium are. Like, I've never
Oh,
looked into
I mean,
it. Never really had a need to.
I'm telling you right now, it's bad juju. I can tell you side effects of opium. Um, it affects your nervous system.
Oh, wow, okay.
It slows down the stuff between your brain and the rest of your body. It can cause a lot of pleasure sensors because it opium is the same as opioids. So it's like an upper with a
Hmm.
very strong down, but it's um highly addictive. And it is one of those things that you use it and then you use again, but the same amount doesn't quite do what the previous amount did. And so then every time you take it, you've got to take a little
More of
more
it.
and a little more and a little more. Um, so it could be her, and that's the thing, you don't know her perception of the room and everything right now. It could be because of the opium,
Mhm.
but it could also be because of something else.
We will never know.
So we find out that Parrington didn't see her at dinner. He wanted to come in and check on her, or did he? He he keeps talking, but she can't concentrate. Her skin seems to harden, glaze over, or sorry, his skin seems to harden and glaze over. His eyes are just these unforgiving orbs. His throat looks like carved marble. I think girl's losing her mind, honestly. Uh,
It almost sounds like he's turning into a gargoyle
it kind of does actually, huh?
in front of her eyes, but again, like, is she tripping on the opium, or is he projecting something, or is he actually transforming?
Or is it both? Like, in her heightened opium, addled state, is she perceiving
Things.
things? Um, Parrington then makes noise about Lillian and Dorian being together. Coltane doesn't like it, and all she knows is that she needs to get Dorian away from Lillian, and she knows that Parrington can help.
Mhm.
Um, Selena is in her chambers. She's studying more about the word mark theories when her door creaks open, the hinges squealing loud enough to wake the dead because they finally they finally work.
Well, why do they only work Hemia's entering, but it doesn't when Dorian does? Make it make sense.
Yeah. Plot device. They needed her to be awake.
Mm.
Yeah, Nehemia comes in. She's all in gold, but her eyes are on the floor, rivers running down her cheeks, and there's a piece of paper in her hand. A legion of A shit. Adderlin's army captured 500 Elway rebels hiding in the border of Oakwald Forest and the Stone Marshes. The rebels were to go to Calaculla as prisoners of war. Some of the rebels tried to escape, and as retaliation, the soldiers killed everyone, even the children. And Nehemia rushes to Selena's arms and wept, and Selena just holds her because, I mean, what do you say in that situation?
There's nothing you can say. Just that is so just devastating, especially since we know that Nehemia helps the rebels
Hmm.
and, she loves her people. She wants to protect her people. And this is just devastating. Like, who attacks children? Who kills children? Punish the rebels, yes. Punish the adults, that's one thing. But
Yeah, why do you have to wipe out all of them?
yeah,
That I mean, that's cruel beyond cruel.
yeah.
Um, And then, of course, that's where we're ending it today.
Of course, on a very, very, hard, depressing,
And they all died. And that's the end of chapter
thing.
33. Yeah, so this wraps up chapters 27 through 33 of Throne of Glass. And we covered so much. Um, yes,
There
so
was
much.
a lot. There was so much in these chapters.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot to go over. And honestly, there was probably so much that we still haven't, you just have to read it for yourself, honestly, because there's a lot going on. Um, but yeah, what are your thoughts? What are your theories, your ideas? Did we did we touch on all the stuff that was worth noting? Did we miss something? Do you think we got something completely wrong? I mean, it's possible. If there is something, let us know. You can let us know in the comments on the YouTube video, or you can um, get on any of our social channels and just write a comment and say, "Hey, you were wrong," uh, you know, or send us an email to hello@bookscatsandchaos.com. We want to just say thank you so much, for listening and joining us again. We appreciate it. And next week, we will be discussing chapters 34 through 40.
Yep. Plan on some more action, some more drama. We can't wait. And please remember to like, subscribe, comment. Your ratings and likes do mean a lot to us. And if you like what you hear so far, we ask that you please share with your friends and family. And you can, again, check us out on TikTok and Instagram. As we head out, please don't forget to give some love to our friends over at K911 Rescue. They are just one of the best rescues out there. K911 Rescue is devoted to cats and dogs that people often look over because they are senior or handicapped or, have special needs, and they try their best trying to find these wonderful animals homes. Right now, they are trying to help a dog, Crescent, who is currently fighting, an upper respiratory infection. She is getting better with her antibiotics, but she still does need her vaccines and she needs to get spayed. They're waiting on the spay until her upper respiratory infection is cleared. She's a beautiful, gorgeous, good girl. So if you can, please head over to their website or to their socials and make a donation. They do have PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo, and just every little bit helps, even $1. Everybody donated $1. We could cover her spay and her vet bills. If you are looking to adopt, foster, volunteer, please go to K911rescue with the Q.com and we will link them in the show notes.
All right, sounds good. And we will see you guys next time.